phone, nor could she wait for him to come home tonight. Daisy briefly considered calling Louis and asking him to drive her to the funeral home, but then she would have to tell him why, and knowing Louis, he wouldn't stop until he got the truth. One thing she hated about Louis, he could always see through her lies. Of course, that never stopped him from pursuing her. She couldn't tell him what was in the letter. She needed to fix this before anyone found out. The only option, she would have to walk to the funeral home. Hastily, she slipped on her jacket and hat, grabbed her handbag, and shoved the attorney's letter into her jacket pocket. Leaving her house a few minutes later, she angrily made her way down the street, replaying in her mind the contents of the letter. If she had a gun, she would be sorely tempted to shoot her father. Yet the only problem, she realized it was too late for that. On the bright side, if she managed to fix this, she could always shoot him later, a thought she found somewhat comforting. Morton Funeral Home was located on the south side of Frederickport in a large 2-story Victorian. Elmer Morton had lived in the house with his first wife, and after she had died and he met his second wife, he moved into the house next door to Marlow House, where he had raised his 2 daughters, Daisy and Maisie. Slightly out of breath from the brisk walk, Daisy stood outside the funeral home and looked up to the second floor and the window of her father's office. She knew he was alone, considering his newly hired assistant was off sick, and the woman who helped in the office didn't work on Wednesdays, and there were no strange cars parked out front. Digging one hand in her coat pocket, she took hold of the crumpled letter and then made her way up the walk. The front door was not locked. It never was during business hours. As soon as she opened the door, bells jingled, heralding her arrival. The moment she stepped inside, the scent of lilies overwhelmed her, and she cringed. Since she was a small child, she loathed the smell of lilies, although she had to admit it smelled better than the embalming room. Shivering at the thought, she closed the door behind her, sending the bells on another jingle. Daisy was about to call out for her father when he came walking into the entry from a nearby room. He halted abruptly when he saw her. "What are you doing here?" he asked. Elmer Morton looked more like her grandfather than father, with his white hair and deeply creased face and slight hunched build. Wearing a dark suit befitting a mortician and solemn expression, he looked unkindly at his daughter. Pulling the letter from her pocket, she waved it at him and said, "What do you think?" "I assume that is the letter from my attorney," he asked calmly. Crumpling the letter into a ball, she threw it at him. It landed at his feet. "How could you?" He looked down at the ball of paper, making no attempt to pick it up. He looked back to Daisy and asked, "Shouldn't you be at home packing?" "And just where am I supposed to go?" He shrugged. "It's not really my problem, is it? As you told me, you are an independent woman. Now you can prove it." "Of course your favorite Maisie doesn't have to move out," she hissed. "Maisie has always behaved like a lady. I am tired, Daisy. Tired of your endless antics and vulgar behavior. It's over. You have what you've always wanted, your independence." "And just like that you've written me out of your will?" she fumed. "How could you?" "I wouldn't get too excited about it. I don't plan to go anywhere right away, and the doctor tells me I'm in relatively good health. So perhaps if you can learn to restrain yourself and prove to me you are capable of acting not just as an independent woman, but a responsible one with some semblance of morals, then maybe you will one day be written back in. But that day is not now." Red-faced, she glared at her father and immediately recognized his resolve. After a moment of silence, she said, "Fine. Write me out of the will until I prove I can be respectable enough for you. But why do I need to move out of our house?" "It's my house, Daisy, not yours. And I don't want you there anymore. As the letter stated, you have 1 week to move out."